a return guest who is very welcome. It's Marie Dubremetz from Uppsala University, Sweden. So last year she presented her work on detecting chiasmus, which is a particular kind of rhetorical figure. And today she will present to us her new work on the same topic.
Thank you very much. And my presentation will invite you to an interdisciplinary challenge, finding one of the most witty figure of rhetoric, but with the less witty object of the word, a computer.
Okay, let's...
So, today, when linguists want to explore corporas, they have stylometric tools like concordancers. Those tools can detect strings, words, and even some shallow patterns, like those n-grams composed of enjoy, enjoying life, for enjoy life, and so on and so forth. But we are experts of literature here, and the literature text is not focused on what is written, not only focused on that, but as well focused on how is things written. In 2 words, it's important to locate stylistic patterns, rhetorical devices, like chiasmus. Wait, what is a chiasmus? So a chiasmus, or in our case, an antimetabole, is a rhetorical figure in which 2 words are repeated in reverse order. For instance, twist facts to suit theories, not theories to suit facts. But after all, why would we want a concordancer that finds chiasms instead of words? Well, I see at least 3 advantages to do such task. First, as I said, it would be interesting for test mining masterpieces of literature. Second, linguistically speaking and in theory, it would improve our general knowledge of the figure. Who is writing it? When? Why? And last but not least, we could use it as a proof of concept. If we can do it for chiasmus, we are likely to do it for other figure of speech. So, let me tell you the short story of chiasmus in computational linguistics so far. The first to tackle the problem of chiasmus in computational linguistics is Gary Jolek, who in 2009 decided to respect strictly the definition of chiasmus and look for every words repeated in a crisscross pattern in a text. Like this one, Chuck Norris does not fear death, death fears Chuck Norris. And indeed, the conclusion is it's 100% recall, it respects the definition. And it's not a big deal for a computer to look for repetitions, of course. But the precision is rather low. And I would say for the ones that were not there last year, I can play a game and ask you something. Let's take a book, River War by Winston Churchill. 150,000 words, written by someone eloquent, if there is one on this earth. In your opinion, how many chiasmi Winston Churchill is making in his book? Give a guess, give a try. 20? Yeah. It's a book of about 300 pages, yeah, or maybe 1 every 10 pages. Any? Okay. 52 or 42 maybe. So we have strong reason to believe that there is actually only one chiasmus in the book of Winston Churchill. Ambition steers imagination as much as imagination excites ambition. And now, can you guess how many crisscross patterns we find with an automatic system that looks, let's say, for a window of 30 words large? regardless of the sentence boundaries. How many?
100,000
100,000
words. No, 30 words is a bit short for.
You're going to have a lot of function words.
Yes, it's without any sorting of any kind. And in the case in this case it's 66,000. So a few days later, Daniel Romada offers to identify not 2 but 3 pairs of words in reverse order, like this one. Love makes time pass, time makes love pass. And indeed, this pattern is extremely rare, so he managed to eliminate almost every false positives. But in our case, the only chiasmus to find in Mr. Churchill was a chiasmus not answering this pattern. And so the user, at the end, faced an empty file, which is as much unuseful. So we start to touch the real problem of chiasmus. There are crisscross patterns like this one that are not chiasmy. Like, I like beer from time to time, but I prefer wine. They are frequent, but chiasmi themselves are rare. To sum up, we face the famous problem of the needle in the haystack. And so far, to the needle in the haystack problem, you have 2 solutions. Either you look through the whole haystack, or either you burn the haystack and hope to not have too much needles melting in the process. And that's why, as well, you cannot have an annotated corpus, and that's why no one tried to get more evaluation than that. But why are we relying on strict features, on hard constraints? Why not using soft constraints to not output, or to not just output what we think are chiasmi, but output each chiasmi from more likely instances to less and less likely instances? So we output it in a sorted manner. By this way, the user would benefit completely from the evaluation of the computer without being completely dependent on it. And so we come to the question of the features. How do we sort a chiasmus? So in 2015, we implemented a solution with only shadow patterns, and it worked. More or less, but it worked. And the next question was, what about more deep features, like post tags or syntactic features? And this is what we are going to question now. And this is the list of features that today we try. And instead of letting you read carefully this table, I will explain you them on an example. So in our corpus, there are true positive instances, like this one, twist facts to suit theories, not theories to suit facts. And false positives, like, I weighted them with the only weight I could find. And the true positives display some positive features on that. For instance, here we notice that facts, theories, facts, have all the same post tag, noun in this case. So same post tag equal +10. Then there is another positive feature, which is syntax features. The dependency label type here of fact and theories is the same, d-obj. Observe how the words switch conveniently their roles in the sentence. And we try to capture that by saying if the main words of the chiasmus are different but have the same role, we add +5. And what what's new idea, less intuitive idea we introduced is that syntactic features can be used as well as a negative feature. In this one, we see I weighted them with the only weight I could find. I and I is reduced and has exactly the same role. What is the interest of repeating exactly the same thing with exactly the same role? We don't see the rhetoricity of that, so -5 for this pattern. So how do we test our hypothesis? Our corpus is in English. It is extracts of Parliament proceedings. Our training set is 4 million words. We have a test set of 2 million words. We evaluate only the 200 first candidates given by the machine, because obviously the machine gives millions of candidates. And the tools for implementations are the stand-for parser for tagging and parsing, and the tuning of the weights is done manually only on the trained corpus, and then we do the final evaluation on the testing corpus. So, results. With this technique and those features, we compare now our results. We first used the previous algorithm developed in 2015 that contained no syntactic and no tag features at all. This is our baseline. Here, you can see our baseline, how it behaves, and the very light green. We then add the shadow features, to these shadow features, the dependency features, which we see in second lightest green. Then we try to add, to take baseline and add only the post-tag features, which we see in dotted green. And finally, we put together all the features. So tag features, inside tag features, and we obtain this line on this precision recall curve. And we see that here we keep a 100% recall for about 40%, and what it 100% precision for 40% recall. This means that the top 5 was only true positives, and we have the natural drop of precision when we want to have more recall, and it's much more smoother with the all feature experiments. And if I had to summarize this improvement by one number, I would use the average precision measure, which is a standard measure in information retrieval that average over every positive document, in this case, every positive Chiasmus, the precision that we have. And we obtain with all features plus 25% precision compared to baseline. And this little k, it's a Kappa-Cohen measurement of annotator agreement. The annotator agreement is rather good. And what is interesting here is that it's the first time we ever have an evaluation like that. It's 2 annotators, but we have an evaluation of how they agree. And, okay. That is already interesting to see that our algorithm and model can perform good on the Parliament proceeding. But Parliament proceedings are rather specific and boring genre. What would happen if we ran our experiment on the literature genre instead? Would it be as effective? To answer this question, we reproduced the baseline experiment and confronted it to our final set of features on the complete anthology of Sherlock Holmes stories. Of Sherlock Holmes. And as you observe, on this table, dependency and tag features add up to 70% average precision to our corpus. And this we obtain without any more specific tuning. This means that we manage to not overfit too much the parliament style.
How many chiasms were there?
Here there were 8, and we find 8 chiasmus.
Ah, 8 instances.
Yeah. On 500,000 words. That's not too bad. I mean, it's. I think it's even better than Churchill does.
That's
I can talk later about some specificity of the chiasmi in calendar versus parliamentarian, but I should finish my talk first. So, let's get of course, our research has some limits. No matter how you model your features, you will always find an outsider that doesn't want to respect your rules and your prototypical standard of what is a chiasmus. Like this one that has been annotated both by our annotators as a true chiasmus. He pays me well to do my duty, and my duty I will do. We see here that do and duty have exactly the same role. Do is still the verb that has for subject I, and a duty is still the direct object of do. So our negative features for parsing would have is kicking down this chiasmus.
So your annotators weren't aware of the fact that you're looking for certain difference in roles, for example, because they both annotated this as correct chiasmus.
They both annotated it as the chiasmi. We randomized the sample, so they had the 200 top ones, but we actually gave them in alphabetic order to randomize it. So they had a list of chiasmi they didn't know, and I added to it one chiasmus that was at the bottom, like a random chiasmus, to make sure that, I don't know, there's no cheat, that they don't, annotate everything positively to encourage stuff. Yeah.
But this is a chiasmus, right?
Yes, this is a chiasmus, and this was annotated positively, and this is raging me because it's not respecting the syntax. So this is the limits. But yeah, it was just to say a word about the limits. Future work. Future work consists on having more annotation with more annotators. It would mean more statistically significant results, and it would mean even more Kappa-Cohen evaluation and to make more amplitude of this research. Another thing could be apply our method on other rhetorical devices, epanaphora or anadiplosis, for instance, which are repetition of words as well. And finally, stop tuning by hand and applying machine learning. Now we start to have data, and it might be possible to do machine learning on that. But so far, we can say that we contribute to computational linguistics by providing first 2 types of new features that we can try on chiasmi. We contribute to computational linguistics as well by bringing more than 4 annotated candidate chiasmi by 2 annotators. On linguistics, we bring a tool that leaves more liberty to linguists to select borderline cases. And by the Kappa-Cohen evaluation, we tend to prove that chiasmus versus random crisscross pattern is more than an individually defined concept. We can agree on at least the most prototypical things. And concretely, we bring a system that works on both political discourse and novel. And I can make an announcement. After working during my nights after the conference, I managed to make a demo. It's a downgraded version of what I have now. It's the version 2015, so no syntactic features. But if you go to my poster, there is a link towards the demo, and you can put yourself your own text, all the text that you dreamed about finding the chiasmus here, and put it. And I can give you a hint. One day I put some TED Talks in it. And my colleagues saw me running through the corridor and screaming, "There's Chiasmus," as if it was raining. There are really corpus that probably deserve this kind of exploration. But I would like to finish on this image. This is a chiasmus. If the mountain won't come to Mohammed, then let's take Mohammed to the mountain. And this is what the computer sees when there is this chiasmus. It was in the parliamentarian corpus. And with the baseline, it was ranked 188. So the user had to read 188 lines, 188 candidates before finding this one. Then with the tags features, it popped up to rank 33. And when we add tag features and dependency features, it popped up to 24. It's not perfect, that's already good. And I think when I look at that, just at this image of 0 and 1, and I think, okay, we managed to make a computer say, yes, this succession of 0 and 1 has some kind of rhetoricity in it. I feel kind of emotion, and I hope having shared it with you now. Thank you.
Questions?
It's interesting when you look at this. It's actually seems like it's a really hard problem to define precisely, right? Exactly what Chiasmus is.
Yes.
Every time you think you get a handle on it, it seems like the next example kind of slips away. Because there are some that just have that little rhythmic quality. I was thinking of an example that dropped in Lemon when I read your abstract, which was, when the going gets tough, the tough get going. It's a nice example. It's Chiasmus.
I like it.
And a lot of things are changing in the syntactic structure between the two things, and yet you get that feeling of contrast. And I don't know, it's very interesting. Hard to say what works and what doesn't.
Yes.
Go for it. You mentioned the connection between Chiasmus and anti-metaboly. The Huffington Post carried an article after the 2008 U.S. presidential election that anti-metaboly was the most used rhetorical figure in the campaign speeches. So you might try running your campaign your detector on that corpus.
That's incredible. There's someone that actually counted manually the anti-metaboly in the corpus?
Apparently. I'll send you a link to that article. But anti-metaboly is such a complex figure to think that it was so used.
Mm-hmm.
It's complex and
used well.
It is. I mean, I am interested in reading this article, and I'm interested in encountering the guy that did that. He would be really useful for me.
He's a reporter, they don't count things. He had an opinion
Ah.
on the Huffington Post. So 2 examples in the Obama speech.
I mean, it's interesting. I mean, maybe this reporter, if he did seriously his work, he took several hours reading the things and underlying and counting the number of years with this machine.
Just answers your own question.
Whoever Obama's speechwriter was, his speeches, we got them analyzed. They were just full. It was like they threw in the kitchen sink of rhetorical figures in Obama's speeches.
Yeah, but the politics are good candidates. Although, I'm more and more thinking that the politics are, at least the parliamentarian discourses, they have this characteristic that they are. There is a lot of it, so I don't think the politics have always the time to prepare the speech. And another thing that I noticed when we annotated it is that they have the tendency to reuse Chiasmus. So I saw a pair of Chiasmus that was coming back in my test set, and panicking, thinking, oh, did I overlap my test set and my training set? And no, it was actually them repeating each other's. And reusing a beginning of the end of the beginning is the bestseller of parliamentarians. And they want some tricks for your articles. I ran actually my algorithm on I downloaded on Windows Academic Search some titles of articles in, I don't remember if it was biology, communication, whatever, and. I don't even know if it's really legal to do that. But anyway, I downloaded it and ran it through it. And there is one bestseller, Chiasmus, that comes back like 3 or 4 times in these thousands of titles. It was evidence of absence or absence of evidence. My God, you can use it on any topic. It's really incredible. Any science. So there are bestsellers, Chiasmus. There is apropos Chiasmus that you can use.
Speaking of the difficulty in defining it, you said that the Cohen's kappa of 0.69 is a good level of agreement.
Yeah.
Is it really for two people who are apparently adept at discovering chiasmus? And in a rather small set, you would think that this is so unusual that people have developed a keen sense of what is not. For example, this device.
On the annotation, I have to precise one thing. We ask the annotators to make the distinction between what they think is really a chiasmus, so true positive, then borderline cases, then false positives. And our evaluation, to make sure that no one protests on what is a chiasmus, we evaluated it on only what the annotators considered both as true positive, so the maximum scores. Borderline cases kicked out, or someone saying true positive and the other one borderline case kicked out. And this allows us to make sure you will see in the paper that there is the list of all the chiasms that are annotated as true positives. This makes sure that everybody agree when they review our paper. And so the kappa evaluation was made on the question was, do they agree on what is a true positive versus what is other than true positive, so borderline or something else. And since our evaluation is made only on this true positive by both, this makes sense to calculate the kappa Cohen of that. So I would say yes, they agree on what is a prototypical chiasmus. This is what's shown, but it's good to ask the question. Go for it.
The follow-up question, sort of, if you were going to try to use machine learning on this, you would obviously need a lot of training data, and the problem with that is generating it seems rather labor-intensive since you have to look at so much data to find so few examples, right? The annotators have to look at a lot of data in order to find few examples. And I'm wondering if you've got the system now at a point where you could use it as an annotation tool.
We are actually using it as an annotation tool, since we look actually at the only top 200. So we take advantages of what proposes the machine, and actually we inspired our annotation or evaluation from a research from Chaudhry. Actually, it was in the 90s. It was a guy in information retrieval that said, okay, we cannot annotate all the web to see if how many relevant documents there is for a topic, but we can compare. It was a research on Lycos, AltaVista, and Yahoo. We can compare the top 100 documents given by them. We see the true positive given by them, and we evaluate on the true positives that were found through this annotation. And so it's what I give is a precision versus recall that is relative to what we have found through our evaluation of the top 200. I cannot say it's absolute. Because it's impossible to have a fully annotated data, and probably we don't want that because we don't want mechanical Turkers to a mechanical Turker. I didn't use mechanical Turks, but we don't want Turkers to look through millions and millions of chiasms that we obviously think.
I think the problem with machine learning would be that it's highly imbalanced data. You have few positive data points. Everything is a sea of negativity. So you would have to do a very serious undersampling of the positive, of the negative side, and I'm pretty sure that would be very difficult because you have the level of imbalance in the data would be absolutely staggering.
Isn't there a sense that you want, when you use chiasmus, you want to be detected using chiasmus? If I say, Mary reported Bob because Bob hit Mary, that's not chiasmus, even though you've got Mary and Bob switching roles. Causality gives us that all the time. But the reader doesn't detect and attempt that rhetoric, so it doesn't call it chiasmus.
You point a good remark, which is chiasmus. So far, there can be protest actually on Is Chiasmus completely individually defined? Maybe I have totally a different definition than you. And in this case, it will probably be annotated as borderline, because some would say yes, some would say no. Actually, interestingly, in Sherlock Holmes, we found a type of false positive that was really different from the parliamentarian, which was false positive on me and I, she and he, always on pronouns, and it was popping up back up. And sometimes a very few difference, like the repetition of all the things. So there was one true positive example, which was, for years he loved me, and for years I loved him. And this was annotated positively, but every other instance of me and he annotated as false. So that's it. Sorry, I think we go over
We need more time.
Yes.
so sorry.
Thank you.